2, 1.
Hello and happy Thursday. Welcome to another week of higher knowledge and wisdom. This week,
Or as we said over lunch, ascension prepping ramblings.
because today we're going to ramble about all the different spiritual traps that you are going to meet the moment you embark on a spiritual / healing / awakening / ascension journey.
Okay, so before we continue, in case you don't know,
Trigger
in
disclaimer.
case you're joining us for the first time, I'm Kumar. This is my wife, Dr. Shelley, and we call ourselves
The Ascension Preppers.
because that's truly what we're prepping for.
Absolutely.
So let me go through the disclaimers, and my wife will go over the list of things we're going to discuss today. Disclaimer. Please understand, this is simply our observation. We are not saying we are right. We are not saying we are wrong. We are just sharing with you. We've been living in Latin America for 10 years. We've been in the medicine world for what, 6, 7 years now?
8, 9.
Our first
2017.
Yeah, our first dance with psychedelics was
8 years ago.
8 years ago, and we have been fully immersed in this. So as we travel through Latin America, as we've done ceremonies, we've done over 100 ceremonies in 1 year. So we get to see the insides of a lot of things, and we look at it from a very critical, logical, analytical way. Observation. That's it, folks. We're not here to make anybody wrong. We are going to say a lot of things, however, that is going to trigger you. But as we always remind you, triggers are opportunities to heal. Our goal is not to make you feel less than if you have a practice or you're doing certain things or you have certain labels or whatever the story is. We don't care. We just don't care.
Well, we're here to invite you to question everything. We've been living in illusion for so long. If you never question, how are you going to know that you might actually be stuck in one of these spiritual traps? So if you're triggered, if you don't have a daily practice, reach out for the guidance and know how to create a daily practice, because if you are triggered and you do not carry it into a daily self-healing practice, well, the trigger, the wound is going to show up. Stories are going to show up, but then you're never going to heal the wound that got poked. So then it's just going to get buried again until the next trigger.
So right out of the gate, we are nobody's healers. We are nobody's gurus. We are nobody's anything. We simply go along our path and share what we've discovered.
How to be your own healer, shaman, and guru.
So what are the topics we're going to cover today, hon?
So we are going to dive deep into all of the spiritual traps that you're going to meet on this healing journey. And there is a lot. Because the moment that you start on this path of healing, of awakening, of ascension, of spirituality, you're desiring more, you're seeking more, you're looking, which means you're going to also be vulnerable and gullible to fall into these traps that sell you a shiny pot of gold, but the gold is not actually gold. It's just been painted gold to look like gold.
It's called fool's gold. That's what it's called. It's called fool's gold. And there's an old saying that says everything that's shiny isn't always gold.
And it's easy to get distracted by what is shiny, especially when you're a newbie on this path. And because we've been on this path, my spiritual journey began all the way back in 2005. So 20 years now, I've been on this spiritual journey, consciousness workshops and seminars, all sorts of different chiropractic modalities and techniques and seminars, breathwork, yoga, kundalini, tantra, quantum physics, law of attraction, you name it, I've done it.
And my spiritual journey has started since I was born, literally. And I don't mean to make any light of that. My mother was a spiritual person, which she never called herself a healer. That's what I reminded
Mhm.
I remembered the other day. My mother never called herself, other people called her a healer.
Mhm.
She never called herself a healer. So that's what I grew up with. Since I was 7 or 8 years old, I would sit with my mother as she traveled around the world, doing what she did to help people with whatever struggles that they were helping. I come from a lineage of pundits, Brahmins. So I grew up in a very spiritual space. My father was an alcoholic. However, I still grew up in a religious space. So, and I've been yoga teacher, breath work, you name it, I've been doing it. Like Shelly, this is one of the reasons our relationship works so well, is when we met each other 14,
Two,
15 years ago,
yeah,
we
two
were
peas in a pod.
literally had been on our own journeys. I was reminding her last night that by the time I was 13 years old, I had already read every book written by Lupsang Tirampa. At 16 years old, I had already joined the Rosicrucian. So I knew that there was something more for me. So what are
Yeah.
all the topics that we're covering? We're covering
So,
spiritual trap. What else are
well,
we
there's
covering?
multiple spiritual traps, and that's where I'm going with that. Spiritual ego is number one, spiritual bypassing, spiritual gratification, spiritual entitlement, spiritual tourism, and spiritual narcissism. So let's start by looking at the spiritual ego, because again, another trigger disclaimer here. When we say ego, it's not the narcissistic.
It's
There
all about
is
me.
spiritual narcissism, and we are going to get into that. But the spiritual ego is really the normal ego, which stands for edging God or goddess out, pushing your higher self, your soul out of the way. You lose connection to your higher self. The more your ego grows, and your ego grows every time you experience a trauma that your nervous system cannot heal or integrate and process. So that trauma gets stuck. A trauma self, which is a false identity created by the ego to keep you safe, gets created that now reigns over and controls the part of your body that felt that trauma. So that is the sole purpose of the ego. It is to keep you safe from pain. However, the bigger the ego gets, it wants to keep you safe from everything, including healing, except the spiritual ego. The spiritual ego is literally the normal ego that has been inflated with spiritual steroids. And spiritual steroids are spiritual practices, plant medicine, spiritual
Labels.
ideas, labels. It's the
Outfits.
it's the I'm a healer. Just as you said, okay, you realize your mother never called herself a healer, but other people did.
Yep.
So they gave her power to heal them. And that creates the spiritual ego, creates power games and exchanges where if I say that I have the power to heal you, guess what? I now have power over you, and you have given me your power. And as a chiropractor, I saw that too many times. My patients gave me their power all the time. And I'm like, I do not want your power. I can't heal you. I can't fix you. All I can do is offer you an adjustment, which will align your body so that your life force can flow without interference. But real healing, there's a lot more to that only you can do. But at the time, that's what led to my burnout.
Absolutely.
There's other spiritual ego labels. So would you like to share a few that come to your mind?
Well, so let's define label. A label is anything that you are going to call yourself. So for us, we call ourselves ascension preppers. Can that be an ego, a spiritual trap? Yes and no.
It can be if we attach to it.
We don't attach ourselves to any of it. We call ourselves ascension preppers as a simple description of what it is that we're doing. What it is that we're doing? We are prepping our bodies and mind, self-mastery for ascension. So we are healing our bodies and mind because all trauma is stored in the body. So this is why, and we tell people, yes, we are a little bit crazy, that we take between 3 to 5 hours every day. It is the most important thing that we do for ourselves is our self-healing.
Mm-hmm.
So we are into the body, we are going into our pain, we are unleashing, and as we do that, we're prepping ourselves for a higher consciousness. So As soon as we see the labels, and some of the labels are, we said it right out of the gate. I'm a healer. I'm a guru. I'm a medicine person. I'm a shaman.
I'm a star seed.
I'm a star seed. I'm a chosen one. I'm one of the 144,000. And my wife will explain what that 144,000
Well, we actually discussed it in last week's live, so I don't need to go there.
So anytime you see those labels, whom chose you? We are all star seeds. What makes you different than me?
Well, and if you look at that, the label creates
ego.
It creates the ego, but it's a I'm this and you're not that. I'm a healer. I have power over you. I'm a guru. I have, more knowledge and wisdom than you. So the spiritual ego actually then feeds into the spiritual narcissistic mentality, which, as I like to call it, is that false prophet, guru complex who wants to be on a pedestal, wants the attention and the worship, and wants the followers.
Absolutely.
Which gives rise to that cult-like feeling that every time we trigger, and yes, we do, we trigger our soul brothers and sisters into healing that cult wound and the worship gene, because we're not that. Every single one of us is God and goddess when we are embodied, meaning literally living from our higher self. But when we are disconnected from our higher self, soul loss is one of the root causes of all pain, symptoms, and disease, which occurs through trauma. The ego gets bigger and bigger. So the ego can easily get inflated once it finds spiritual practices. Wow, look at me. And
we see it all the time. We will introduce our work. And this is why if we have to put our label on ourselves, we call ourselves guides. What do we mean by that? We're simply guiding people to where we have been. And that's what we are. We're just guiding people. This is what we've done. This is what we've experienced. Hey, come try it and see what it feels like for you. I'm not your teacher. I'm not your guru. I'm not anything.
It's no different than one of my titles, not necessarily a label, but for people to connect with and understand what it is that I do. Cannabis chiropractor, well, don't have a chiropractic practice. So what does that even mean? A cannabis chiropractor? Well, I work and guide you in becoming your own chiropractor. You can align your own body, and it's called a fascial alignment. And your fascia is the pathway to your higher consciousness. And what is the secret key to unlocking your mind and body so they can work together and quieting your ego, which is the monkey mind? Because no real healing can occur with the monkey mind present or active.
And our monkey mind is active 99% of the time.
And the monkey mind is the ego. So now imagine monkey mind
gets a crown.
Spiritual monkey mind. That baby is. So the cannabis chiropractor, or even the womb shaman, a womb shaman. And womb shaman, what is that?
Well, what does a shaman mean?
A shaman is someone who can navigate the feminine dimensions of consciousness. And when looking at the human mind, body, soul complex, the mind is masculine, the body is feminine. So the body, therefore, is the feminine dimension of consciousness.
So if your medicine facilitator is not taking you into your body, it's safe to say that person is not really a shaman.
Well, there's that, absolutely. And even if they're not guiding you into your body, are they even guiding you? Because a shaman, in essence, is a guide.
And in our experience, we've never experienced that.
We have never
I can tell you
been
now,
guided.
Over 100 ceremonies, and I have never, in all different countries, Colombia, Mexico, Panama, does make a difference where I have never been guided in my ceremony. Bufo, psilocybin, yahe, ayahuasca, you name it.
Peyote, you name it.
Nobody has guided me into my body. As a matter of fact, in our last experience that we had with yahe in the Amazon, I got up and was speaking to the medicine facilitators and all go back and lay down. I'm like, but I need to be in just go back and lay down. I need a quick lift because my body's jacked up and I want to go in. Just go and lay still. There's no guidance.
No guidance. And
singing a song and playing a drum is not exactly constitute making you a shaman.
And there was this feeling of, you guys aren't really feeling the medicine because you're going into your body. And anyone who has not experienced being guided into their body with plant medicine, it's an entirely different experience. You actually get to meet the medicine at a much deeper level because now you are including your feminine essence, your feminine principle, your body. Because in a lot of plant medicine ceremonies, the body is just disregarded. Well, that's rejection of our feminine principle. If we're avoiding our body, not going into our body, not being guided into our body, we are literally rejecting, avoiding, abandoning, and betraying our feminine, our body. So, how are the sacred medicines, which are feminine by nature because they open us up to these feminine dimensions of consciousness, how are they being revered as sacred if we are not revering our body as sacred?
Absolutely.
So the spiritual ego and spiritual narcissism is also the complex of superiority. It's that, well, I'm vegan, so I'm better than you because I don't eat meat. I was in the raw food community for many years in Arizona, and it's, oh my God, you cook your food? You're killing your food when you cook it. I am better than you. I am never going to die because I don't eat dead food.
Oh, I walk around barefoot. Oh, I wear hemp clothes. Oh, I grow out my hair. Oh,
I look a certain way. I speak a certain way.
These are all spiritual traps.
Because it's creating a box of what you have to fit in. A label is a box. Coming back to womb shaman or ascension prepping, there is no box. Where I guide you is out of your head and into your womb. So,
and for the men, Hara
for the men, but I am guiding you into your body. I'm not just, quote unquote, a shaman serving you medicine and letting you figure it out on your own.
Singing a song or beating a drum.
Because as I've remembered in ancient times, and there's a Chucky proverb that states women are by nature shamans. In the Toltec tradition, shaman means life force energy. So where is your life force energy? It's in your womb or hara. You have to be guided out of your head and into your womb or hara in order to awaken your life force energy. So that is the soul essence of a shaman. So when people claim the title of shaman, my first question is, where are you guiding people? Do you know? Have you been there before? And if you haven't, then how can you guide anyone there? Because back to what you were about to say, we see so many people show up in one or two of our ceremonies, and next thing you know, they're out there offering ceremonies thinking that what we do looks easy.
Yeah, I'm going to guide somebody.
So now I'm going to go do it. And then every single time, like clockwork, they're blowing up my phone. Oh my God, Shelly, help, this happened. Oh, I met this and this person freaked out on me, or da da da. It always turns into a shitstorm simply because that person, spiritual ego got inflated. They thought, what you do looks easy. I can go do it. And then, oh shit, I just opened a can of worms that I don't know how to guide this person out of because I haven't been there myself.
But even like you and I were talking about the other day, the Western mind, and please don't take offense when I say the Western mind, because it is the Western mind. The Western mind is obsessed with certifications and labels. So if I can go get a certificate and do it, I can do it too. We were talking about yoga. Mm-hmm. The true concept of yoga, the flow that most of you will do in yoga, that you go to a yoga studio in the morning or in the afternoon or twice a day or once a day, whatever the story is, and you do that yoga for an hour, hour and a half, whatever it is, that flow is not yoga. A true yogi is somebody who lives in that temple and dedicates themselves to understanding their body, mastering the mind and the body.
So yogi is another label. It's another spiritual ego. Just because you wear Lululemon does
not
make
yoga classes
you a yogi. Or not because you attended a 1 month long yoga certification, that doesn't make you a yogi. Are you living a yogic lifestyle? Have you eliminated alcohol, pharmaceutical drugs, unconscious sex and ejaculation? Meat. Are you truly living a yogi lifestyle?
Social media.
So if not, then can't really call yourself a yogi.
And
Just saying.
if you've studied yoga, if you've studied the Yoga Sutra, you'll understand that there's 8 different limbs of yoga for somebody to truly call themselves a yogi.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I teach yoga, that doesn't make me a yogi. But
just because I do a cookie cutter version of yoga doesn't make me a yogi, because as we've remembered, yoga has been passed down through this telephone game, and it has lost its true essence. It's lost its philosophy. It's lost so much of its knowledge and wisdom. Why? Consumerism, greed, money, power, control. Look at the quote unquote, the Indians who came and brought yoga to the West. It was all about, let me do a yoga teacher training. Let me pack it. Let me pack rooms of hundreds of people. And where did
give everybody the same instructions to do the same thing.
And then there's a script that you have to follow to teach a yoga class.
I can tell you, I got certified. You literally have to know the script verbatim in order for you to pass the yoga class. And like I was telling you the other day, I went through the classes after a month of doing yoga 8 hours a day. I could barely do any of the positions because it was going at 90 miles an hour all over. I'm like, wait, I haven't met my limitations in that first one and we're already moving.
So how do you ever master that pose?
And as I heard recently, somebody said something beautiful. Yoga is not doing many different positions. Yoga is doing a certain amount of positions many times.
In different modifications, because then it can go back to, this is where they create cookie cutter yoga classes, same position, boom, 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 boom. Because as we've realized, and what we're unraveling is our daily practice never looks the same.
Never.
We're constantly, you give me one position, I will modify it 20 different ways that I would have never had the time, flexibility, freedom, inspiration, or motivation by a yoga teacher to do that, because the class is an hour and a half and you got to do pose, no time to breathe. And as I reminded you, I've never been instructed to squeeze my pelvic floor, to
breathe,
sound,
to hold,
to breathe, to hold my breath. All of these Shakti activators that awaken your life force to transmute those stuck energies you're meeting in a position. I've never been guided there in a yoga class. So coming back to whether it's a shaman or a yoga teacher, when you adopt a quote unquote label, where are you guiding that person?
Well, and let's go back to the shaman. We've been to several of them. When you pack in 20, 30, 40, in case of rhythmia, 80 people to 100 people in a room with a half a dozen helpers.
If that.
How are you guiding anybody in one particular person? How are you guiding them into their body when you're just handing medicine and then, okay, now go do your thing? And like we always say, when you do medicine, where are you journeying from?
Absolutely. Did you receive a rite of passage to know where and how to navigate this feminine dimension of consciousness that these sacred plant medicines awaken you to? There are no rites of passages. I look at ceremonies all the time and I'm like, there's no feminine included. Where's the bowl of water and flowers honoring Mother Earth, honoring the Divine Mother, the feminine principle of these medicines? There's no imbibing ritual. So the same way, and this analogy showed up the other day, and then we can move into one of the next. Well, I want to talk about some of the false prophets that have existed in our timeline. But when you look at recreational or medicinal cannabis use, and anyone who has not experienced sacred ceremonial cannabis use, but they think, again, from ego or trauma self, oh yeah, I have met the higher self of cannabis because I consume her recreationally or medicinally. Again, the ego is the ultimate trickster. It will make you believe that, oh yeah, you are revering cannabis as sacred.
Oh, I set the intention for her.
And I always challenge anyone, come join a free ceremony. Allow me to guide you into your body so you can meet the higher self of cannabis and her higher power in her ability to guide you when imbibed in sacred ceremony. And every single time it's like, whoa, okay, yeah, I just saw that my ego tricked me. I've never met this higher self of cannabis. Okay, whatever I said before. Yeah, I guess that was my spiritual ego. So if cannabis, who's a sacred plant medicine, is just like ayahuasca or yahe, and there's no imbibing ritual, there is no honoring or reverence of that which is sacred. It's here's your medicine.
Say a
Maybe
few
speak a
words,
little, say a few words of gratitude,
give thanks to your
and then
ancestors, and then
drink.
drink it.
Where is the reverence? Where is the asking of permission of that medicine? In my Yahe ceremony that you mentioned that we went to Colombia last year for, every time I laid down on Mother Earth to purge, I'm asking Mother Earth for permission to purge so that she can also transmute what I'm healing. So there was this exchange of permission. I've never been guided to exchange permission with sacred plant medicines. Sacred plant medicines actually guided me in remembering how to ask them permission so that I can actually receive their guidance.
More specifically, cannabis. And we will tell you folks, again, we wrote a book on cannabis, on how to heal with cannabis. We will tell you, there is a reason that Ayurveda considers cannabis one of the 5 most sacred plants on the planet. And yet we treat her recreationally. We treat her as though, we call her a weed, for God's sake.
I know.
That's how we treat
Because she's
her.
resilient and strong. She is a representation of the divine feminine. So if cannabis is this way, she will not reveal her higher power to you without reverence and sacredness. Are you telling me that without reverence and sacredness, that everyone who is consuming ayahuasca or yahe or psilocybin is meeting the higher self of these sacred medicines? Because they also have a higher self, just like cannabis.
Absolutely. Abogaine, all of them.
Every single one. So moving back into spiritual narcissism.
The false prophets.
False prophets. If we, for the longest while, we were lovers of Osho, his teachings, his books, super consciousness. But when you look at Osho and his life, why did he need a Bentley, a Benz? What vehicle did he have?
Dozens of Rolls Royces, diamond watches.
What was that all about? Because for me, at least, and I will speak for myself, the more I am on my spiritual path, the more I want to simplify my life and not accumulate or not even be attached to
anything,
earthly material possessions that reek of money, power, control, fame, spiritual ego, or just ego in general. Look at me and my car that I drive.
Or my house that I live in, my neighborhood, or the job I have.
And we've seen this with so many different false prophets. Look at Sadhguru.
Sadhguru is one that, again, this one is a pet peeve for me because so many people put him on a pedestal. Yet he sits on the WEF and talks about depopulating the planet, and people still think that he is some reincarnation of something. How can you say that? And you're rubbing shoulders with the Bill Gates and the Klaus Schwabs of the world, whose plan is to depopulate the world. And even he admits that, yes, the world has too many people. We need to. So how do you eliminate them?
Yeah, so there are a lot of false prophets like that. I was a part of different organizations at the time back in the day as well, and spiritual groups and communities. And I can't tell you how many times I saw that worship gene, the desire for this excessive amount of attention and adoration and the giving away of power. Put me on a pedestal. Let me sit on my chair up here on the stage because I'm higher than everybody else. I know more than you. I'm at a loss for words right now as to how of much of a dichotomy, of an irony that this is. So you're a spiritual quote unquote guru, but you want people to worship you and pedestalize you and buy you expensive gifts and cars and da-da-da-da-da just to boost your ego. Again, spiritual trap. So now if we move into spiritual bypassing, which is one of the next traps that we're going to talk about, this one can easily be seen with the excessive and toxic addiction to love and light. Everything is love and light. Let's just avoid the darkness. Let's avoid all of the lower frequency shit that's occurring on Mother Earth right now. Love and light's just going to heal it all.
Yep, these solar flares are going to come in and magically upgrade my DNA. I don't have to put in any work. I don't have to look at my traumas. I don't have to heal myself. I don't have to go into my body. I don't have to look internally. I'm just going to be automatically upgraded. Solar flash, I'm good to go.
Well, and that's spiritual entitlement. There's a whole nother identification for that where, and you said a word earlier that I want to tie into this whole concept of spiritual entitlement and spiritual bypassing, because spiritual bypassing is literally exactly as it sounds. No more definition is necessary. You're bypassing your healing. You're bypassing your divinity. You're bypassing your higher self. You're bypassing your ascension. And you're bypassing it with something that feels good, but doesn't actually contribute to your healing. It's not the work that is required on this journey to truly heal.
So you mean if I dress a certain way and I listen to certain music and I eat a certain diet and I go to certain people and I do certain plant medicine, I'm not automatically healed?
Yeah, well,
I'm not spiritual. I'm not getting ascension.
About that.
I'm not one of the 144,000. I'm not a chosen one.
You know, it reminds me of a few of the spiritual entitlement, spiritual bypassing comments that we have heard along our journey from people who have sought us out to remember how to heal themselves. And the spiritual ego that comes through with that of, I remember, so coming back to Sadhguru, who says he is a reincarnated version of so-and-so?
But
who says? Did he say, or did somebody else actually validate and prove he is a reincarnated version of some former guru?
And again, when we say ego, folks, we're talking about trauma self. And anytime we say ego, if that's triggering you,
go back to the beginning.
Switch that
trigger
word to
disclaimer.
Trauma. When we say ego self, trauma self. You were saying?
So, yeah, you interrupted my flow. Now I got to get back on track. So where was I?
I like to do that to her.
Yeah, I know. Need a masculine container.
This is what we actually do, folks, is that, again, it's the masculine container. You'll hear us refer to that a lot. So when we are speaking, we will interrupt each other. It's not that we're speaking over each other. It's just that something the person said triggers something in you and you say it too, and then the person takes it and they may take it and run with it, or it may have knocked them off, and the masculine container requires you to go, okay, when I was interrupted, I was saying.
Okay, so pause. Let me get back. I got it. Before you interrupt me again and disrupt me. So coming back to things that we've heard people say about reincarnation. Sadhguru, he's reincarnated version of so-and-so, so-and-so. I've had women tell me, and this is where I can see it's the spiritual ego, because I'm like, wait a second. How many women now do I know who claim they are Jesus's grandmother?
Mm-hmm. At least four.
So four women claim they're Jesus's grandmother, and they know that.
And they're spiritual people to be.
How? How can four different women be Jesus's grandmother? I know a few others who claim that, you know, they've been Jesus,
or met Jesus.
They've met Jesus,
and
where they've had visions.
What version of Jesus? What was his color? What was his hair? Oh yeah, about that.
So there's all different traps, including when your spiritual ego grows. And let's say you do plant medicine and you have visions. There are also visionary traps, because again, if they have these memories or visions of being Jesus's grandmother, well, where did that vision or memory come from if three other women just within my connections have also had that same vision or memory? If someone says that they've been Jesus, we had a brother who he's Yahweh.
Yep. He said he was
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
He said he was Yahweh.
Neo.
Okay, how? Because I can go online and find other people who are also claiming these same things. So were all of you Yahweh? Were all of you Jesus's grandmother? Were all of you Buddha? And it's this association with, again, oh, I am someone important from the past, and I am here reincarnated. I am. It's the I am. And when you say I am, This is a reflection question to carry into a practice. What is I am followed by? Is it followed by a frequency, or is it followed by a label? Is it followed by something that is judgmental? Is it followed by something that boosts your spiritual ego?
And go ahead.
Well, then the next one was a brother who ties into spiritual entitlement. He actually expected us to come, touch his third eye, and poof, magically he's going to ascend and be enlightened. And we had to burst his bubble that, brother, sorry, it doesn't work that way. We are not here to heal you. There is no bypassing, there's no shortcuts. There is no take a pill in Ibiza and magically you're going to ascend without doing the inner work. And that really bursted his bubble.
Well, and it didn't help that I had to explain to him, I don't know any more than you do. I'm lost.
Aren't
We're
we
just
all?
finding our way together as a couple. We don't know anything. And the more we don't know, the
Absolutely.
more we're getting to remember.
Well, the more we unlock in our body, the more knowledge and wisdom that we unearth and unbury from underneath all the traumas and wounds, it's like, shit, how much more is in there? We really have not known anything. We've told ourselves we know. And I'll be the first to say that what my body has taught me is worth so much more than my $200,000 student loan for becoming a chiropractor.
But how do we even claim, and again, spiritual ego, how do we claim to know? Again, you and
Well-
I, this is the conversations we have during our practice, because our practice is not, it's not a static. It's literally it's a dynamic movement. We're talking, we're laughing, we're carrying on. When we look at each other, we're like, wow, this information is, where am I getting this from? Where is this coming from? So we're realizing it's within our bodies. We don't have a
DNA.
guru. We don't have a teacher. We don't have a shaman.
Well-
we are trusting ourselves and holding each other accountable.
Do you know what guru means?
Be my guest.
Light, dark. It is the merging, the divine union of light and dark.
Yep.
Light, if you look at a yin yang, the white portion is the masculine portion, the feminine portion is the black portion, the dark portion. So this deeming of the feminine as bad, evil, scary, don't drop below your head into your body because that's the dark realm. So there's been all of this rejection of the feminine, and it is in that has led to the inflation of the ego, the spiritual narcissism, the spiritual bypassing, because all the work to ascend exists below the head. It exists in the body.
What about spiritual tourism?
Well, real quick, hold that, because one of the things, what you were just referring to, all the work to ascension exists below your head and your body. That is also where all cosmic knowledge and wisdom is stored, but it's buried underneath those restrictions in your fascia, unhealed traumas and wounds. We literally are, and we discussed it last week in the DNA activation video, that everything about the entire cosmos, from the time your soul was born to now, all different incarnations and other planets, galaxies, star systems,
Multiverses.
all of that is recorded in your physical fascia of this physical body that you have in this physical realm. That is mind-boggling. Everything we're looking for is within us. And that's why we continually keep diving deeper and deeper into our body. Anytime we want to know something, we don't look to someone else to tell us. We don't have a guru that we've pedestalized. Our only guru that we've pedestalized is our four-legged monkey. Not a real monkey, but he was a monkey in the past life. But he's our only guru because he is our teacher of unconditional love. So he has to be a guru in order to be able to show us how to unconditionally love. Not just him, but ourselves. So now spiritual tourism. This is literally like a spiritual nomad, like digital nomads. How they float from one country to the next.
From one medicine to another, from one shaman to another, from one modality to another. And we're just dipping our toes. Oh, I like this. I'll try this for a little while. And we move on. And we don't find any answers. We don't find any deeper healing. So we move on to something else. So, and it is tourism. Because, again, our observation. Here is what we have observed. These shamans, especially the ayahuasca and yahe, are the two most popular medicine today for spiritual tourism.
Literally the tourism industry.
We literally, when you go to places like Colombia and Chile and Peru and Mexico, there is a business. It's a transactional business.
Even Costa Rica now.
Especially anywhere in Latin America,
Panama is untouched.
You literally, it's a business. They're trying to pack in as many people. I don't want to know who you are, what you're coming here for. Do you have money to pay for a ceremony? Yes? Okay. Here's your hut you're going to stay in. We're going to serve you medicine so many times a night and maybe show you some things during the day of how to weave something, or how the medicine is made. And you're finished with your medicine. Okay, bye. See you. And you're gone. That was a great ceremony until the next time when I go home again, because the medicine has run through our bodies. We may have gotten some insights and we may have felt some things that we haven't felt before, experienced some things that we haven't experienced before. And we go back home into our same situation we left it from before because we didn't heal anything. So it's just a matter of time. Just like it's like going to, you and I always talk about it, it's like going to seminars. There's a lot of people who are seminars junkies. And
I was a seminar junkie in chiropractic college.
Joe Dispenza and Anthony Robbins and all of these different ones. And yes, you get something from it because there's a community. It's just like going to a massive yoga class. You are going to feel the energy of everybody else in there participating.
Well,
but then you go home and 2 weeks later, life happens. And you slide right back on all the wonderful insights that you thought you had.
It's like the multi-level marketing, big rah, rah, rah. Everybody shows up and they get so excited.
I'm going to go out there and sell and I'm going to be fantastic.
And then they go home and shit,
this
can't make it work for me.
So there is a tourism industry that's going on.
Well, and there's a lot that we choose not to even speak about that we know about that's occurring in the spiritual medicine, sacred medicine.
Especially in the ayahuasca and yahe medicine. There is a topic that we will speak about privately, but we will not speak about publicly because of fear of retribution.
Well, and just the powers that be that are organizing what we know about. It's like, wow, that has infiltrated this.
So we will not touch
medicine space. What? Wow. Who allowed that? Why? Oh, wait, for profit.
But again, you see it. So you have some shaman who has been born through his lineage. His grandfather was, but if again, as we do our homework and we're digging, as we were researching for our books, we saw for ourselves that at some point in time, the indigenous people, the truly indigenous people, stepped back from the medicine and the colonizers took over.
They infiltrated it.
And they brought in all their religious belief. This is why psilocybin and yahe and all of these things were banned for so many years, because the church didn't want people accessing this type of medicine.
And even more recently, look at Maria Sabina. Highly religious, very
She's
Catholic.
the first one to admit that she is deeply Catholic, and this is what she used to help people come closer to her version of God. She opened the floodgate for the Western mind that is deeply traumatized, which is, again, coming back to the spiritual tourism. Nobody asked these people when they come, all they care about is, do you have money to pay for a ceremony and for your lodgings and the food? Yes. Okay, this is how it's going to be. Nobody sits down one-on-one, and if they are, I haven't run into them. The shaman, facilitator, whatever title you want to give him, doesn't sit down Shirley, why are you here? How many medicines have you done before? What did you heal with those medicines? What experiences did you have? What changes did you make in your life? What are you doing? What are you hoping to accomplish out of this ceremony that you didn't receive from the other ceremony?
Yeah.
Instead, we see, we saw it firsthand. We got to live with them. How much people can I fit in? How many days of the week? How much medicine do I make? Let me add my profit. What's my overhead? Fantastic. Okay, that group is gone. Next group. How soon can I have them? We
Wow.
have friends who are traveling the world doing just that. They are now taking their medicines and going around the world, and they'll serve the same person 25 times without ever questioning, why are you taking the medicine so
What if
often?
you healed?
What have you healed? So it's like literally imagine going to Disneyland. You're just going and taking all the rides and you had a good time and going home.
Well, that leads into now spiritual gratification, because this concept of instant gratification, we are so addicted to chasing a quick fix. My patients wanted it. Doc, I'm in pain. Give me a quick fix. I don't do quick fixes. And at the time, my adjustments were anywhere between, you could choose a 10-minute adjustment up to a 30-minute adjustment. I don't have time for that 30-minute adjustment. Just give me a quickie, in and out. Well, you realize that that's not going to heal you. At least the longer adjustment will give you more release to last longer so you can hold your adjustment longer. But everybody wants a quick fix. This is where spiritual bypassing, spiritual tourism grows from. The root of it is this instant gratification. I want to be enlightened and I want it now. I want to be ascended and I want it now.
I want a label, and that gives me the bypass.
I want whatever it is and I want it now. So what we have observed, and again, our observations are not only based on knowing and working with a lot of these quote unquote medicine people or shamans, again, the labels, but it's also in questioning those who show up in our ceremonies. We always ask, how many ceremonies have you done? What was your experience like with the medicine? Were you guided?
What did you heal?
What did you heal? Did you receive proper integration when you got home?
What happens when you went back home?
And out of literally 100% of the time, I have never met a single person who says, yes, Shelly, I have done X amount of medicines, and I had at least one medicine person guide me into my body,
into my trauma,
or guide me into my fear, or guide me in remembering how to release my suppressed emotions.
Because nobody's your healer. You are it.
Not a single one. So this is where our observations come from, is, okay, well, if we are meeting all of these people who have done all of these medicine ceremonies with all these medicine people and shamans, and not a single one is guiding them, then what's really going on here? People are going back 25, 50, 100 times, drinking the medicine again to have that short-lived, superficial, instant gratification. I feel good for a day or a weekend or a week, and then I'm back to my shitty life. And when literally shit starts hitting the fan, well, I guess it's time to go to Peru and do another ayahuasca.
What division do we put the ones who go do medicine 2 or 3 times and now tell themselves, I want to serve medicine now because I can heal people.
That falls into spiritual ego, spiritual narcissism. It's again, I practiced in Mexico chiropractic at the time. It's slowly starting to get regulated there, but at the time it was not regulated. I literally jumped through so many different hoops and laws, and I literally had to instruct the government on how to basically recertify my American chiropractic license into a Mexican license so that I could practice in any state in Mexico.
So you were one of 2
federally
certified chiropractors, and I think still is one of only 2 federally certified chiropractors in the country of Mexico.
The process is a shit show. And it literally was 2 days and running around to 7 different offices.
Holding people's hand. But one of the reasons that Shelly did what she did was that simply because in Mexico, and it's the same in Panama.
I met it in Portugal as well.
We see it all over in Latin America. A physiotherapist or a massage therapist, don't even go to a physiotherapist. A massage therapist will go take a weekend seminar, which is nothing more than physiotherapy. It's not a chiropractic seminar. No. It's a physiotherapy seminar. And now they carry the label of chiropractico, and they're out there.
Chiropraxia.
They've changed it a little bit. And not knowing the human body. You spent how many years becoming a doctor?
Yeah, about that.
And you're telling me that what took you $200,000 and 5 years studying. Why didn't you just go do what the people did and did it in a weekend?
Well, that's just it. And I can't tell you how many times these fake keto practicos would be jealous that I was successful and they would try to come after me. And that was one of the reasons I got my Mexico license to be federally certified, because anytime they were jealous that their patients were coming to me, and they had to come to me because they were getting hurt by these fake keto practicos, because they literally did 2 days and they know how to adjust the spine. And it's like, no, are you serious? But this ties into people who serve medicine. They do a few ceremonies and now I can go out and serve. And that's why I have seen it and experienced it every single time. Someone who, quote unquote, tries to copy my work thinking they know what they're doing, it always backfires.
Well, look at your first experience with combo.
Yeah, wow, that was...
Why don't you share that first experience? We don't have much time, but why don't you just really quickly share that first experience so you understand what we're talking about when we say that people, again, the ego, the spiritual trap of telling yourself, I can go live in Latin America for 8 months or a year or 5 years with a shaman, and suddenly now I'm certified.
So I had combo called to me, and I reached out to a sister in Mexico who I knew had experienced combo, and she recommended this woman who serves combo because she traveled through South America
She's
for
a
10
French
years.
woman, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was from France. But she had studied with all these shamans, and she was supposed to be one of the best combo facilitators ever. And I called her up, scheduled my appointment. Okay, I was going to have her come to my house on Saturday because she's a nomad, so she didn't have a place to serve medicine. I go and I pick her up at the parking lot in our nearby grocery store, and the conversation was so
Minimal.
limited and minimal.
Very sterile.
Very just, hi, how are you? I'm good. I couldn't engage her at all. So I'm meeting this medicine for the first time.
No instructions.
No instructions, no guidance. We get to our house. Well, where do you want to do it? You can either do it outside or upstairs in one of your spare bedrooms. Well, what do I need? Like, there was no preparation at all. So decide to do it in one of the upstairs bedrooms where we had our ceremony room set up. She burns the points, supplies the medicine. Not a word from her. And meanwhile, I'm sitting here with the trash can, not knowing what to expect. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see her. She's sitting back behind me in the corner on her phone. And I'm like, okay, well, I just needed the medicine. I didn't need a facilitator because she's not even here facilitating anything. The moment I purge, she takes the medicine off, applies dragon's blood. Okay, well, there you go. Pay me my money. And now can you take me to the parking lot at the Grove? Because I need to get the bus. And it felt like it
was very sterile.
Purely transactional experience. There was no empathy. There was no compassion, no instructions, no guidance, no follow-up, no message a couple days later. Hey, Shelly, how are you integrating and feeling?
What integration?
Yeah, about that. So,
did we miss any of them?
Spiritual ego, spiritual bypassing,
labels, traps,
narcissism, tourism, entitlement.
I know we're going to remember. We'll be sitting doing this evening.
The
one
that we didn't touch on is Kundalini. We didn't even go down
let's
that
go down
pathway.
We've got about 5 minutes, so let's go down that path.
That's a massive spiritual trap.
So, before Shelly starts, let me explain something to you. In order for Kundalini to be awakened, and this will fall under the guise of Tantra and all of these wonderful things that you go see all these people are having. Come for a weekend seminar, I'll get your Kundalini awakened, and I'll call out Dr. Joe because he's a friend of yours, even Dr. Joe's ceremonies. Let's understand something. It takes a yogi 7 years of dedicated practice of living a yogic lifestyle, a brahmacharya lifestyle. Look up that word, brahmacharya. That's what it's required for a yogi. 7 years to be able to awaken their Kundalini. In other words, they have to move from the reptilian brain to the frontal cortex.
Frontal brain, higher mind.
In between that, there is the middle brain. So if you're journeying from medicine, if you're trying to awaken your Kundalini energy, if you're trying to experience Tantra, you can't do it just from the reptilian brain, which is where the ego owns domination. It is called the Kunda buffer.
That's the ego's serpent. who looks, acts, tries to feel as much
it's identical twin.
like Kundalini. It is literally Kundalini's identical twin. Evil twin, though, because Kundalini is the serpent of your higher self. And in the very last portal of somatophobia, spiritual traps, Kundaba, for the fears you're going to meet on this journey, I go into it all in that last chapter. So, as you said, it takes yogis 7 years.
So how can I do it on a weekend?
I would like to know that. Now, granted, and this is something that people are not, there's so much misidentification and confusion around Shakti and Kundalini.
Absolutely.
Because my very first BGI adjustment, I was skeptical. What is a few light touches going to do? Except after I got off the table and I'm standing in the hallway talking with my Japanese chiropractic friends, my body's moving like the ocean. And I'm like, I'm not controlling this. Like, what is going on? I could have said it's Kundalini, but now knowing what I know, it was just me feeling life force awakened. Because we live so disembodied that even the littlest bit of our life force or Shakti coming online is like, oh my God, that's my Kundalini. Oh yeah, baby. But it's not. It's just a tiny little bit of life force. It's more feeling presence than you've ever felt before. So you think, wow, there's something going on here. Now, for Kundalini to awaken, what do you have to do in those 7 years? Well, we have to look at what does Kundalini flow through when she awakens. She's coiled up around your coccyx. So the foundation of your body, your pelvis, your sacrum, your coccyx, your pubic bone, your hips. If your pelvis is restricted, if it's stuck and painful, when Kundalini awakens, she's going to run into those pain blockages and she's going to explode them into even more pain, which is why a lot of people get sciatica.
Or different dis-ease in the body.
She flows through the nervous system. So she flows through our vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in the body, flowing from the foundation of our body to our brain and forming the brain of all the messages it receives from our fascia. If our fascia is restricted with unhealed traumas and wounds, unhealed memories, because all memories are stored in the fascia, then those restrictions in the fascia are sending fight, flight, freeze messages through the vagus nerve, which creates blockages or traffic jams along this highway. Kundalini can't flow if that nerve is busy sending messages of fight, flight, freeze. Kundalini also flows through the 3 main primary nadis, which are energetic channels for your life force Shakti, as well as Kundalini to flow. I can speak from personal experience. Those nadis are twisted up and tight and blocked and clogged with mucus because those nadis flow through each of our 7 chakras all the way to our crown. If we have blockages along the way, how can Kundalini just magically awaken and flow through our chronic state of fight, flight, freeze, through clogged nadis, through restrictions in our spine, because Kundalini has to flow up our spine, Jacob's ladder, 33 vertebra.
Kundalini has to flow through the Sushumna. If it's not flowing through the Sushumna,
which is the core channel with Ida and Pingala, the 2 serpents, weaving up through all 7 chakras. So if our nadis are not cleansed and purified, which was the essence of a 7-year commitment to a daily practice, to a self-mastery practice.
Mastering the mind, mastering the body.
There were 6 different versions of Kriyas. Drinking a lot of water to initiate a purge. Sounds like combo.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee enemas, water enemas to cleanse the lower portion of the body. Putting things up the nose to cleanse out the sinuses. Rapé. All the different things we make, the oils to put up our nose. So your temple body has to be purified in order for Kundalini not only to flow, but to awaken. And she will not awaken. And I call her she because she is Kundalini. She is an essence. She is an individuated expression of the Divine Mother. So every single one of us is the Divine Mother through our Kundalini, which is the individuated expression of the Divine Mother. Except the Divine Mother within us cannot awaken when there is a sneaky, evil godmother who is doing everything in her power to keep us stuck in our lower state of consciousness, expelling our life force and unconscious sex and ejaculations. The list goes on and on and on and
Kunda
on.
buffer that convinces us that it's our Kundalini.
But it's not. So when I see these videos of people magically waking up their Kundalini in a weekend seminar,
How are you doing that if you haven't gone through the pain
Like,
and the stuck in your body?
what am I missing here?
We should have been doing that a long time
A
ago.
long time ago.
Why are we spending so many hours every day doing what we do?
Well, because I'm actually feeling Kundalini. One of the things that I mentioned to you, and I know it's not going to fully cut us off yet. One of the things I mentioned to you the other day is that when I watch these people have their quote unquote Kundalini awakened, again, by somebody else, they're not doing it on their own. Somebody has to come along and move their hands over their body to wake up their Kundalini. This practice is a self-mastery practice.
So how can somebody wake that up for you?
If you're dependent on me to awaken your Kundalini, how are you ever going to go home and know how to awaken your Kundalini on your own?
Absolutely.
So there you have it. We did
Again.
not dive deep down into all the different tangents that
We
we
could.
could have.
We could talk for hours.
This
Again,
could be an all day
remember,
live.
if we come across sounding however, our goal was just to share our observation and our experience with what we see in the spirit world, because we're in this 7 days a week and we've been in this for years. This is what we've dedicated our life for.
Years. I've seen the ins and the outs. I've dodged the pit holes and the traps. I've seen them along the way and like, oh yeah, I don't want to go down that pathway. That's a trap. So for us to know about this, to share it with you, we've been there, we've done that, we've felt it, we've fell into a few of the traps and had to climb our way out. So that's where we share this from, to save you. And we're not here to save you. But if our knowledge and wisdom of what we've experienced can help you save time, energy, stress, frustration,
Time. That's
and
a big
getting
one.
lost, as a soul sister once said, spending more time in the lost bin than the found bin.
Yep.
Because every time you fall into one of these spiritual traps, you lose more and more connection to your higher self, to your divinity. Because real quick, we're on a path to our higher self. These traps are like little sideway tangents that say
Destruction.
dead end. They're not going to lead you to your higher self. They're dead end roads. They're traps that you fall into that then you literally have to climb your way out of, backtrack to get back on your path, to keep going on your path to your higher self.
Folks, thank you very much. I know you guys have a lot that you could be doing. So thank you for taking the hour to spend with us. As long as you keep showing up, we'll continue sharing the little that we know.
Been our highest pleasure. If you desire to know more, knowing is occurring through your body. So come join us in a free ceremony. Women have the opportunity to join a free womb kriya ceremony every Saturday. Our next book reading on the mother wound is next Friday already.
Is it this
January.
Friday or next
No,
Friday?
not this Friday.
Next
Not
Friday.
tomorrow. Next Friday,
8 p.m.
January
Eastern time.
31st.
And it's free.
And then for the men out there, the next Hara Kriya ceremony is Sunday, February 2nd. Your first ceremony is free as well.
And if you have any questions and you want to reach out, feel free.
You know where to find us.
Thank you guys. Have an amazing day.
Have a beautiful day, and we will see you next week.